In the quiet state of Minnesota, hidden away from the bustling highways and crowded cities, lies a town called Black Hollow. It's a place most Americans have never even heard of, a dot on a map that's easy to miss. But the people who live there, the ones who know its secrets, all agree on one chilling rule. You never, ever enter the Black Hollow forest after the sun goes down. For the past 20 years, this seemingly peaceful stretch of wilderness has been the final destination for 3 individuals. They walked in and they never walked out. There were no bodies, no clues, no signs of a struggle. They were simply gone. The locals have a saying. They say the forest doesn't lose people, it keeps them. In 2016, this local legend caught the attention of Elena Parker, a brilliant and ambitious 29-year-old researcher. Elena was studying American folklore for a documentary project she was producing. She was a woman of science and logic, confident in her ability to debunk myths and find rational explanations for the unexplained. The supernatural, to her, was just a collection of stories people told themselves to make sense of a chaotic world. She arrived in Black Hollow and set up her base in a small, cozy diner on Main Street. As she was reviewing her notes, an old woman with eyes that seemed to hold the town's entire history approached her table. The woman leaned in close, her voice a low, raspy whisper. "If you hear them whisper in those woods," she said, "don't answer. And if you see the shadows, don't look into their eyes." Elena offered a polite, patient smile. She thanked the woman for her concern, dismissing the warning as the charming but superstitious rambling of an old-timer. She was wrong, terribly wrong. That evening, armed with her gear and a night vision camera, Elena Parker walked past the tree line and into the Black Hollow forest. The air immediately grew still. At first, everything seemed perfectly normal, the familiar scent of pine and damp earth, the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind, the profound silence of the deep woods. But about 20 minutes into her trek, a subtle, deeply unsettling sound reached her ears. Footsteps. Behind her, they were perfectly in sync with her own. When she stopped, they stopped. When she started walking again, they followed. It was like her own echo had come to life. She tried to rationalize it, to blame it on the acoustics of the forest, but a cold knot of fear was tightening in her stomach. The forest was growing darker, unnaturally so. It felt like the thick canopy of leaves overhead was actively swallowing the last vestiges of twilight, as if the sunlight itself was afraid to linger here. That's when her camera's microphone picked up something that made her blood run cold. It was a whisper, slow and breathy, a sound that seemed to curl around her name like a phantom caress. Elena. The temperature around her plummeted. She could see her breath turn to a thick white fog in the air. Goosebumps erupted on her arms, and then she saw it. Standing motionless between 2 ancient oak trees was a shadow. It was tall, impossibly so, shaped like a human but stretched and distorted, far taller than any person could be. It had no face, no discernible features, just an abyss of pure, solid darkness. Her heart hammering against her ribs, Elena did the only logical thing she could think of. She aimed her powerful flashlight directly at it, and just like that, the shadow vanished. A wave of relief washed over her, but it was short-lived. The second she lowered the beam of light, it was back, and it was closer, just standing there, watching her. Suddenly, a new sound pierced the suffocating silence, the soft, terrified crying of a child. Against her better judgment, a primal instinct to help pulled her forward. She followed the desperate sobs until she found him, a little boy standing beneath the gnarled branches of a twisted pine tree. He was pale, almost translucent in the dim light, and completely still. His eyes were wide and empty. Without moving his lips, a whisper seemed to emanate from him, a thought projected directly into her mind. "Help me. Before he finds me." Before Elena could even process what was happening, a massive, towering shadow rose up from the ground directly behind the boy. It didn't grab him or touch him, it simply expanded, swallowing him whole like smoke being sucked into a vacuum. One moment the boy was there, the next he was gone, consumed by the darkness. Elena screamed. It was a raw, primal sound of pure terror. She turned and ran, blind with panic. Branches whipped at her face, roots snagged at her ankles, but she didn't slow down. She could hear them behind her now, the footsteps. Not one set, but many. A whole chorus of phantom steps, rustling leaves and snapping twigs. They were hunting her. She burst out of the dense undergrowth and stumbled into a small, eerie clearing. And there, half buried in the damp soil, was an old, mud-caked video camera. Her researcher's curiosity, even in the face of sheer terror, took over. She frantically wiped the dirt from the lens and the casing, her hands shaking as she found the playback button. The recording flickered to life. It showed a man, his face pale and slick with sweat, standing in this exact same clearing. He was breathing heavily, his eyes wide with a terror she now understood completely. Elena recognized him from her research. It was one of the men who had disappeared back in 2002. Then, the camera's view shifted, and behind him, she saw it. The same tall, featureless shadow, standing silently, watching. The recording ended abruptly as the camera fell to the ground, followed by a blast of static, and then nothing. In that horrifying moment, the truth crashed down on her. The forest doesn't just kill you, it traps you. The souls of the lost are bound here, and the shadows. The shadows are their eternal guardians. Knowing she might not make it out, Elena did the only thing she could. She turned her own camera on herself, desperate to leave a warning to document the truth. Her voice was a ragged, trembling whisper. If someone finds this, don't come here, please. She never got to finish. From every direction, shadows began to emerge from between the trees, silent and menacing, a circle of darkness closing in around her. Her flashlight began to flicker violently, casting the clearing in a strobe of terrifying light and shadow. The video footage shakes as she screams and tries to run one last time. Then the camera falls, tumbling to the forest floor. The lens points up, capturing one final, horrific image. Elena's leg being dragged backward, pulled by an unseen force into the complete and total darkness. And then there's a sickening, sharp sound. The sound of something snapping. Then silence. 2 days later, a pair of hikers found Elena's camera lying just outside the forest's edge. Her body was never found. She became the fourth victim of Black Hollow Forest. But the locals say the story doesn't end there. They say that a new shadow now walks among the trees, one that is slender, female, and silent. And sometimes, when the air is perfectly still and the moon is hidden behind the clouds, you can hear a faint whisper carried on the wind, a desperate plea coming from deep within the woods. Help me. And everyone in Black Hollow knows you must never answer, because the forest always keeps its own. Thanks for watching. If stories like this capture your imagination, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next descent into the unknown.